You are watching the New American Media. Well, hello, everybody. This is Brian Engelman returning with you. We are pleased to be joined with Zak Baris yet again. Zak is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. We have been talking about all things from NFL to college football to the NBA. And then just that last segment toward the end, we kind of bounced around all over the place. We've already previewed who's going to the playoffs in the East, who's going in the West. Let's get into those playoffs now. How do you see it shaping up in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals, and then the Finals? Oh, but before we do, hold on. Before we do, because I think that's the key. I think that's the final thing that we need to get into. Briefly, touch on the comments from the Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal thing, and then Charles Barkley talking about LeBron maybe being better than Jordan. Start with Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal basically called out Dwight Howard again. You know, Dwight Howard doesn't seem to care anymore. Dwight Howard needs to basically just stop responding to the criticism. You know, just show up and play and just deal with it. You know, he's going to be criticized all over the place. You know, it's going to happen. For what happened in Orlando, he's going to be taking criticism for a long time. Just show up, play, get the job done, win a championship, and then everybody, you know, will stop talking. You know, you don't see LeBron receiving any criticism anymore for his style of play now that he's won a ring. You know, especially with Barkley saying he's better than Jordan. Jordan has 6 rings, you know, and he would have won 8 had he not left the league for 2 years, you know.
That's true.
My opinion is Jordan is still the greatest of all time. When LeBron wins 4 or 5 or 6, we'll start talking. You know, but until then, I just don't think it can even be – I don't even think it can be said right now.
I think what he was saying is that he could be better than Jordan, that at this stage of his career he's accomplished a ton, he looks fantastic, and his game seems to be improving. I could tend to agree with that.
You know, LeBron is a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. You know, I think he might be the second greatest of all time already. You know, I just don't, you know, when people go, Kobe has 5 championships, I go, LeBron is a better player than Kobe Bryant. You know, no matter what you think, LeBron is better than Kobe Bryant. Always has been, always will be. You know, if you put LeBron on last year's Lakers, there's a good chance they would have been in the finals.
Hey, I agree with that. I've always thought, I mean, Kobe's fantastic, and that's fine. I've never been a Kobe fan, but I respect his game. I know that the guy's a baller. He can play, but he's never been near as good as LeBron. And I'm talking back in the Cleveland days when he was still figuring out how to play.
LeBron has always crushed Kobe in head-to-head matchups. You know, that's just how it always has been. You know, like I said, I'd be very, you know, I just can't put up with the argument, oh, championship. If LeBron ever played with Shaq in his prime for all those years, I can promise you LeBron would have more than that. You know, Kobe was very fortunate. And don't forget there were no other superstars in the NBA at the time. Allen Iverson and Vince Carter do not count as superstars. They were all-stars, not superstars. There was not a lot of talent in the NBA when the Lakers won their back-to-back-to-back. There just was not. You know, and it needs to be stated because a lot of people don't think that way. You know, they faced the Pacers, the Nets, and the Sixers in the finals. Just remember that. Kobe Bryant might go down as the top 5 player of all time, which he will. But he is not better than LeBron. He's not better than Jordan. I think Jordan is still the greatest of all time. Now, that can be changed, you know. But, I mean, if you go back and watch old Michael film, you know, he's just unbelievable. You know, as great as LeBron is, he's still, I don't know if he's in the Jordan conversation just yet.
I don't think anybody can become better than Jordan. And I know, you know, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and, you know, an era before when I was watching. I get that they were great. You know, watching what some of these greats had done, that's fine. But Jordan was something totally different. Jordan was, I mean, it was different than Montana, than Elway. It was way bigger than Mark McGuire or Derek Jeter. You know, you think of the best players in the best sports on the best teams. Jordan was the best of the best of the best, and I hated him. Bless you. I hated him as a Cleveland Cavs fan because I mean we had to get out of that division and we never could really do it when we had the Bulls around. But I mean Jordan was just probably the most dominant athlete I've ever seen in any sport at any time. But LeBron has always felt the same to me, just waiting to get his turn to build up the resume. He's that dominant, I think.
You know, LeBron is a fantastic player. Like I said, right now I have him as the second best player of all time. And that, like I said, that can change. But, you know, right now it's not going to. You know, let's see in, let's see if he wins 2 more rings over the next 2 years and can go and beat Kobe's Lakers, because that's not going to be easy with Dwight Howard there and everything. I can tell you that right now, it's not going to be an easy feat, winning that. So you have to take a look at that, and if LeBron goes and let's say he doesn't win over the next 2 years and he goes to, because like I said, I've been saying this now, especially since he switched his agent to Rich Paul, the Cleveland homecoming seems a lot more likely than it did a year ago.
Why does changing the agent matter?
Rich Paul and Dan Gilbert have a very good relationship. Don't forget, Rich Paul's at almost every home Cavs game. He's a Cleveland-based agent, went to Benedictine. He was the one who called Dan Gilbert about the decision. And, he represents Tristan Thompson. Don't forget the Cavaliers, it's still rumored to this day that the Cavaliers took Tristan Thompson over Jonas Valanciunas because Valanciunas was represented by Leon Rose and they wanted nothing to do with Leon Rose. The relationship was unrepairable at that point. And they took Tristan, who, even though he's represented by an LRMR guy, Dan Gilbert was in good standing with Rich Paul. I think this allows them to heal the relationship. And there's a great article written by Joe Kotosh on Sheridan Hoops a couple weeks ago that basically just reiterated the point I've been making all along. The saying is that, LeBron, a homecoming now becomes much more, feasible than it was a year or 2 ago. And I think Gilbert could accept it, especially, if they go and apologize to each other. I can definitely see it happening. Definitely at this point. And, it'll be different. If LeBron's playing alongside Kyrie Irving and Deion Waiters pans out, he can be playing on another super team in 2 years.
Jeez.
Let's see what happens with LeBron in a couple of years. It's still too early to talk about the LeBron back to Cleveland stuff. And I'm not trying to be a homer here.
Too early now.
I do not work for the Cavaliers. I'm letting that point out known right now. I do not work for the Cavs. And I'm just saying, though, that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a good position to land LeBron in 2 years. They have tons of cap space, tons of draft picks, and, like I said, they've neglected the 3 now, another year. They did not take Harrison Barnes. They took a 2 over a 3. Just remember that. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, throw out here the rest of these predictions because we've previewed the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, the 8 teams that are coming out of each. Let's talk about the conference finals. Who are the top 2 teams now? Are you just going to say you're legitimately looking at Lakers versus Thunder?
I'm going to say Lakers,
West?
Thunder most likely, but, that can change. It could be Lakers, Spurs. It could be Thunder, Spurs. It could be Thunder, Clippers. You never know. There are 5, even Denver is a really, really good basketball team this year. Denver is a really, really good team. So Denver cannot be discounted, either. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the West. It's hard to say, but my guess is it's probably going to be Lakers Thunder.
Okay.
In the West. Maybe even it could be Lakers Spurs, but the Thunder got by the Spurs last year in 4 straight, but and the Spurs are a year older, but still. In the West, I'm going to say, and I think the Lakers would win that in 7. If healthy. If not, I'm going to say I'd go with the Thunder. In the West, I'm going to say as long as Derrick Rose is healthy, I think it's going to be Heat Bulls. If Rose isn't healthy, I think it's probably going to be Heat Celtics.
In the East. You think the Celtics? Okay, you think the Celtics could be
I think
up there.
I think the Celtics, they've seemed to play well in the playoffs every year. They're a totally different team in the playoffs. And just adding Jason Terry, adding Courtney Lee, adding, Jared Solinger and getting Jeff Green back, you've added a lot of pieces. You've added 4 pieces, big-time pieces this offseason to an aging roster. I think those are just big-time additions, and I don't think they can be discounted. I think the Celtics are going to be a lot better than they were a year ago.
Then the finals?
The finals, I'm going to say Heat Lakers, and at this point, like I said, if both teams are completely healthy, I'd say the Lakers in 6 or 7, most likely 7. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't go if the Heat won. Would not shock me one bit. I'm going to say the Lakers in 7, but it could be Heat in 7 too. That one I have problems going either way with.
Without a center in Miami.
It's just LeBron was so dominant. I think a lot of it. If Dwayne Wade's at 100%, it's not going to be It's not going to be an easy feat for LA to beat them.
I wonder if that's even possible anymore for Dwayne Wade to be healthy 100%.
That's the thing is just Dwayne Wade never seems to be healthy. And LeBron carried them throughout the playoffs last year.
Absolutely.
All they needed was Wade to be at 50 to 60%, which he was, and they won it.
Barely.
It had nothing to do with Wade. LeBron was just that good.
Yeah.
There were lots of games where Wade just looked horrible, and you're just like, there's no way this team's going to win it. I looked at it and I go, If Dwayne Wade keeps playing, there's no way they're going to win. LeBron's going to have to be putting up the most ridiculous numbers ever. He's going to have to be better, in that series. And when the Cavs lost to Orlando in 2009, when his PER was like 45, he had the most ridiculous series I've ever seen, and they still lost, And I was thinking they're going to have no chance if Wade keeps playing like this. But Bosh was phenomenal in the finals, and they were able to ice away Oklahoma City, and it happened, even though Wade wasn't spectacular. I just think the Lakers, having a guy like Dwight Howard there, I think Oklahoma City could have won that series last year had it not been, I think Scott Brooks, I do not like Scott Brooks as his coach. I really don't. Good person, but he's not a great coach. He didn't adjust his lineups. He didn't put in Collison, Nick Collison when he needed to, when Kendrick Perkins was struggling horribly during the finals. Perkins did nothing. When Harden was struggling, he didn't change the lineup much to put in Cephalosha or Cook. I just didn't like his rotations. His offense was predictable. And they were constantly just guarding LeBron and leaving the wing players open the entire time. Evan Battier, Chalmers, and Mike Miller, and they were just draining threes. When you give an NBA guy an open shot, most of the time they're going to make it. If you watch shoot around, these guys don't ever miss. I don't care who you are, as long as you're not a 7'5" center taking threes, you're going to make a lot of them, if you're a decent three shooter. And, that's what Mike Miller was brought to Miami to do. And, Scott Brooks neglected guarding guys like Battier. I mean, Battier was putting up, it seemed like he was putting up 15 to 20 points a game during the finals.
Well, but on the flip side, let me toss it back this way. If I got to have somebody beat me, I'd rather have it be Shane Battier, who had a pretty lousy playoff stretch most of the time up until the finals, and Mike Miller, who could barely walk. I would rather risk those guys beating me than LeBron or Wade or Bosh. I mean, there's something that could be said for that.
They still didn't change the defensive strategy one bit. Cephalosha is a much better defender than James Harden. He was never in the game, it seemed like. It seemed like he was hurt. Nick Collison had a much better series than Kendrick Perkins. Perkins was awful. There was no excuse leaving Perkins in there. Collison's much more physical. Nick Collison is much more physical than Kendrick Perkins was in the finals. And, he was just a better player. He was quicker to the ball, and he was just a better player. And I just don't understand why he wasn't in. It still makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Well,
so
it's another season.
I'm going to go with, I think, and I still think Mike Brown. I don't know if Mike Brown can win a championship. I really don't.
Well, he's got a good roster right now. If he's ever had a good chance and he's ever learned from the experience in Cleveland, you're pretty stacked right now in Los Angeles. Just
think about it. Mike Brown will end his coaching career if he gets fired this year. Let's put it this way: we'll coach 5 of the 50 greatest players of all time: LeBron, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, and Steve Nash.
Whoa, wait. Okay, you're calling Dwight Howard top 50?
I know Shaq. Dwight Howard will go down by the end of his career as one of the greatest centers of all time. He'll probably be there as one of the 50 greatest players of all time.
Okay.
By the end of it. But when all is said and done, especially if he wins a couple rings.
Okay, Nash is your MVP top 50?
Two-time MVP?
Two-time,
yeah. I don't know, but, maybe, okay, fine, we'll go top 60.
Thank you. All right, yes, top 60. That sounds perfect.
Top 60, he is one of the 60 greatest players of all time.
But Mike Brown has coached a lot of the best players ever to play this game, and he's really either got to get it done or it's going to be a huge flop, a huge failure, epic fail.
I don't see him ever getting a head coaching job again if the Lakers are healthy and don't win this year. That's what will happen. If they don't win and they're healthy this entire year and they do not win, he will never coach again as a head coach in the league.
Wow.
The guy's been gifted opportunities. He had to coach LeBron in Cleveland. He coached some really good teams in Cleveland. He's now coaching the LA Lakers. I just don't understand why he's getting such great coaching jobs. There's nothing against Mike Brown. I don't have a problem with him. He's a great defensive coach. But, I just don't know, if he can win it all.
Well, there are people that are great on interviews, and then when it comes down to it, they're just not good at their job. And then, of course, there's that Peter principle that, as an assistant coach, maybe he was really, really, really good as an assistant coach and then just not cutting it as a head coach, and you get advanced to that place until you're incompetent and you don't bounce back like Luke Fickell, who you're not a big fan of, but bounce back to the place where you used to be really good. You stay at the place where you're bad until you can't get hired again. We'll see. I don't know. I don't necessarily have anything against Mike Brown, not saying that you do, but we're going to see how it plays out because Kobe is definitely at the end of his career. So is Steve Nash. Dwight Howard has a lot to prove. You still have Pau Gasol and head case Meta World Peace, and you have a pretty strong Los Angeles Laker team trying to knock off the defending champs Miami Heat. And really, LeBron was a superhero in last year's playoffs. I don't know that they get better than they were last year. I don't know that they could be better than that, obviously, if Dwayne Wade's healthy, but I don't know that he can be the way that he plays. Same with Derrick Rose. But that's the fun of the preseason, Zach, because we don't know. Nothing has happened yet. There haven't been injuries. There haven't been surprises. There haven't been, flop teams, and there haven't been superstar stunning rise to competitiveness teams like I hope the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be next year. We just don't know. We're all just guessing, looking at pieces of paper right now. I guess we're going to find out in about a month when it kicks off.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting NBA season, though. I think, and I just want to say there's some teams that are going to be extremely fun to watch this year, especially a team like the Cavaliers will be very, very fun to watch, see what they can do, especially with all that young talent. I think another team that's going to be really exciting to watch is going to be, I think not really exciting to watch, but is going to be fun to watch with the Toronto Raptors, just because of Lowry. You get to see Valanciunas coming into the league now. I think they're going to be one of those exciting teams that might not necessarily win a ton of games, but they're going to be fun. Washington with Beal and Wall in the backcourt. I like Denver. I think they're going to be great to watch. A team like Portland with Damian Lillard, they're going to be fun. Minnesota, if Rubio's healthy, they were fun to watch last year. And especially, I think Phoenix is an interesting team, too. I think they're really, really interesting to watch this year just because they have Dragic. They're a totally different team than they were a year ago. They have Scola. That they're going to be cool to watch. And then I think Dallas is going to be one of those teams that you just don't know what you're going to get out of them this year.
Well, you'll get an owner that cares and he likes to spend, and he wouldn't be scared of pulling the trigger and making a trade at some point.
And especially my team, my two teams to watch this year are the Cavs and the New Orleans Hornets. If you want to watch young talent with the ball this year, that might not necessarily put up a great win-loss record, but is going to be really, really fun to watch and exciting to watch, especially a team like New Orleans with Anthony Davis, Austin Rivers, I put this in quotes, a healthy Eric Gordon. They're exciting to watch too. They're going, and they added Ryan Anderson. They're going to surprise some people this year. I have them in the low 30s of wins, but like I said, if Anthony Davis has a really good season and Ryan Anderson's as good as he was a year ago, and Austin Rivers is decent, they could wind up, having a good year.
Well, I'm looking forward to the action, and I think as it progresses, Zach, I'm looking forward to continuing our conversations. I enjoyed the time off because, man, it was a lot of basketball with the Olympics. It's like it did not stop. It couldn't stop.
It's been nice to get a break, though, for the last couple of weeks,
yeah.
And then finally going back to work last Tuesday. I had to fly to work, and, I have a 4-hour flight over there, and I'm just like, I was dreading it. I was like, ugh. I had a 4-hour flight to work, and I got there in the same day as I left. So, I
really?
spent more time traveling than I did at the practice facility.
Where did you fly, Zach? Really? Where did you fly to? I'm just kidding.
Well, you can guess anywhere with a 4-hour flight from Los Angeles. You can start putting those in there.
Oh, so you're not.
Take your guess.
So you're not with the Jazz. Okay, to be continued. And I'm sure at some point you're going to announce this, correct? Where you're working?
I eventually will. I just want to keep it on. I just want to keep it on the low right now because I don't want to. I just don't want to announce it right now.
That's cool in the game.
It's well known. If you look up my name, you'll find it. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll find it.
Well, and that's good.
It's just a matter of. It's just a matter of that kind of stuff. It's people. My friends know. A lot of people know. One of the reasons I don't like to tell a lot of people, I have a lot of people asking me for jobs all the time. It's come to the point where I just dread telling people what I do.
Can you connect the two obvious dots on your profile? No, but definitely. If you're not following Zach, check him out. He's at Zak Baris. That's ZBARIS on Twitter. Follow him there. And Zach is always welcome on this program. He's been a good co-host / regular guest during the NBA season. And as you've witnessed during the previous segments, we definitely don't shy away from talking NFL or college football. Or the only thing both of us have not really done too much conversation have not had too many conversations on have been baseball, but who knows? Indians will have a new manager next year. Maybe we'll have something
This
to really
is the
care
first
about.
year I can safely say where I did not watch. Earlier when I got your email, or the direct message on Twitter going, discuss baseball. I go, I honestly don't know anything about baseball. I know all the playoff teams, but this is the first year where I honestly have not cared about baseball because the Indians were so bad, and I had so much else to focus on. I was so busy, in the beginning of the season during April, May, and June with the NBA, and with college basketball, I was too busy to even watch baseball when the Indians were playing well. I had extra innings. I had the MLB, at that app, and I have the MLB, TV on my computer and my PlayStation. But it was like I just wasn't watching any games, and then when I started watching them, they were horrible. Last season I felt like I watched every single game.
Well, that's what 2 straight years of Manny Acta having an overachieving team in first place at throughout most of the first half of the year, 2 years in a row, really competitive, if not in first place, and then 2 complete collapses down the stretch to just take all of the wind out of your sails. You're paying attention, you're really interested, you're excited, and then they collapsed. They had a 3-4 week stretch where it seemed like they could barely win 2 or 3 games in a full month. It was miserable, and they fell totally out of contention. So I'm glad there's a new manager coming in Cleveland because, much like whether it's our country, our football team, our baseball team, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But
who are you hoping for? I'm just curious. Are you hoping for Sandy Alomar or are you hoping for Francona?
Is Omar Vizquel an option?
I don't believe so at this point, but I'll just give you my quick take on this one. I think Francona is a better option for the Indians because I think the Dolans, if they're going to go and pay a manager $3 million a year, they're going to go out there, and my guess is what a lot of people are speculating now is if they go and hire Francona over Alomar, a guy who has 2 World Series titles, he's not going to want to lose. He's not going to want to be coaching a 90-loss team. They're going to go out there, spend some money in free agency, hope to have a decent year, and then try to put up the team for sale. I think that's what they're going to try to do because this ploy is not fair to Sandy Alomar, hiring him as manager just to try to get fans back in the stands and making Roberto Alomar the hitting coach, and Omar Vizquel the fielding coach, and then Kenny Lofton the first base coach and Albert Bell the third base coach. That's not going to draw fans back to the stands. I can tell you that right now. That would not, maybe I'd go to one game because I think it'd be cool to get to see all my 90s legends there. But it's just basically looking at going, yeah, this is the thing, it's like you said, it's like buying the shell of a car, going, listen, son, I just bought you a 2013 Porsche 911, but there's no engine in it.
Aww.
It doesn't drive. It's just going to sit in the driveway.
Aww.
That's honestly what the Dolans would be trying to do by hiring Sandy Alomar.
Well, I'm a big proponent of keeping the talented players who are affiliated with your organization. Keep them in the organization. If they're good hitters or good catchers or good, keep them in the organization. I like the concept. And I thought Omar Vizquel, he's always been one of the smartest players I've ever seen, one of the craftiest and wiliest.
Well, I think he'd be a fantastic manager, but I just don't see how you can't hire a guy with 2 World Series titles. That's the thing is you have a guy there with an incredible resume, whose father played for the Indians.
Right.
I just don't see, I think Francona made some dumb decisions in Boston. I'm not saying he was the best manager in the world, because he wasn't. But, you're getting a guy who has 2 World Series titles. Let's put it that way. Broke the curse in Boston. Maybe you can do the same in Cleveland.
Break the curse in Cleveland. Okay, that's the storyline
I can tell you he'd go
for.
down as one of the greatest managers of all time if he won a World Series with the Indians in the next 2 to 3 years. Because going and winning 2 with the Red Sox, which was unheard of, for 85 years, and then going and winning, 1 with the Indians, who haven't won since 48. That'd be an incredible accomplishment for him. So, you know what? If I were the Indians, I'd go out, hire Francona, and spend some money in free agency, and then try to flip the team. I think that's the Dolans' best option. I just don't know who's available to buy them.
Do you think that they're waiting for LeBron James to follow in the footsteps of Michael Jordan and take his foray into baseball?
God, I hope not.
Maybe join the Indians. I don't know.
The Jordan ownership has worked out so well in Washington and Charlotte. Drafting a Kwame Brown and then taking the Bobcats to 7 wins this past season. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, I'm rooting for different ownership. It's been a horrible era since Dick Jacobs sold the Indians. I've been so
I think
depressed.
everyone in sport, I think every Clevelander I don't know one Clevelander that actually supports the Dolans. You know, if you had approval ratings on an owner, it couldn't be higher than 1%. I'm telling you that right now. I don't know anybody who supports the Dolan.
Well, I want to see those teams from the 90s that were dominant and consistent, perennial playoff threats. And I like this. I do like this time of year where, you might be drinking some Sam Adams Oktoberfest or something, or maybe some pumpkin ale, and watching the Major League Baseball playoffs and, the NFL. You're starting to figure out who the teams are. I like this time of year. You don't get this experience in Los Angeles where you feel like the seasons are changing, but in Ohio you grow up.
It's starting to cool down finally. It's supposed to be in the 70s this week, so I'll take that.
Yeah, but I mean, I hate when it gets hot out here. We don't have central air in the place, so when those hot weeks come, it's pretty miserable for a couple of weeks.
I hope you don't live in the valley.
No, not the valley. We're not that extra 15 degrees hot and stagnant.
Are you on the west side?
Yeah, we're Culver City area.
Okay, yeah. Culver City, you really don't even need the air unless it's over 100 out in the city. That's the only time you need the air.
Yeah, and
because,
I mean,
Culver City, it really does not get above 80 degrees there most of the time.
It's mostly perfect weather the rest of the year. But what I like about baseball in the beginning of this season and the start of the basketball season, I love in Ohio when the leaves start changing colors and you can smell football in the air and it starts getting cold and crisp and you can see your breath at night. And you just get a feeling like, okay, we're ready to head into this winter cycle. I like the cycle. I honestly
have to say, it was honestly nice being home. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just saying it was nice to be home last week in Cleveland for 10 days. It was in the 60s every day, upper 60s every day. And it would seem like it was 65 at night, too. It was nice. That's the one thing I forgot about Cleveland. It doesn't really get that cold at night, until later on. But when I was home, it was nice. I was able to go downtown, walk around in a T-shirt. Watch the Browns game last Thursday against Baltimore. I had a fun time doing that, hanging out with old friends. It was nice. The leaves are already changing because they had a couple cold days, and it was fun being back home. It was the first time I've seen rain in God knows how long. I think maybe 4 months. I think the last time it actually rained here it rained twice here in June, and that was it.
Rain? What is rain? It never rains out here. For the people out here that don't know, I mean, it almost never rains in Los Angeles. Maybe November, December, we'll get a couple of days of some rain.
Yeah, no, well, I remember 2 years ago it rained every day during the wintertime.
It's weird that we get rain in the winter.
It was raining 5 days a week because I used to live in the hills, and it was literally, we were getting constant rain every day. It was just, last winter wasn't bad at all. I remember we had 92 degrees in February. It does not get... it does not rain here unless it's November, December, and January. That's it. But
it's strange how you can take the kid out of Cleveland, but you can't take the Cleveland out of the kid. I find that interesting that if you're from the Midwest, if you're from a place like Ohio, there are certain things that are kind of at your core. Yes, you appreciate the things about LA, but at your core, you have an internal clock, kind of like the seasons. You kind of. And we can ignore it for a while, but at some point it comes back, like whether it's, a brief visit back home to see some friends or family, and it just reminds you, like, this is my homeland. It's weird to think about it that way, but really, that's the homeland for so many people like us who leave Ohio, go to a big city like Los Angeles. I mean, we're kind of in the same boat, Zach.
Honestly, this is the first trip being back where it honestly felt weird to be back home. I haven't been home in 10 months. And honestly, I have to say, it was just strange going back at first. It really was. And then after 2 to 3 days, I was finally used to it again. And then I'm right back in L.A., And suddenly it's just, back to L.A. again. It's the normal lifestyle. I'm not used to there being no traffic at home. I'm sitting there, taking the car in Tektronix mode, and I'm going really fast down all the streets in Cleveland. And I forget that there's cops around every corner. It seems to be there's deer everywhere. It's just, if you get an open lane like that in L.A., you have to take it, and it's always like that in Cleveland.
The little differences, my friend. Well, I'll tell you what, you and I are overdue for meeting up for a couple of beverages or to catch one of these NFL games.
Definitely let me know Saturday night, the Ohio State game.
What time are they on? Saturday night for us is 5 o'clock.
I think it's a 5 o'clock game against Nebraska.
Well, and that's the other weird part about out here. NFL football starts at 10 in the morning. That's something until you've lived through it for a couple seasons.
I like that, though. No, I started to enjoy it because, I went to the Bills game and I woke up in the morning it's 7:30 to go downtown and tailgate. You know, I'm like, oh, it's already 12:30. You know, and then I was like, where's the day gone? You know, by the time I got home, it was 5:30. You know, after the game, just walking away from the stadium. You know, we parked over at the casino. You know, valeted over at the casino, and then, you know, by the time I went to dinner, you know, in University Heights, you know, over at Pizzazz, you know, by the time I got home, it was already like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I was just like, ugh.
How was
that? You know, because I stayed downtown a little bit after the game too, so it was just like, you know.
How is that casino?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. Honestly, it reminded me of Vegas, being inside of it. And I go to Vegas all the time.
Really?
I thought it was really well put together. The buffet was, honestly, I had the buffet before, you know, at 8:39 in the morning. The buffet was fantastic. I put it over the Aria buffet in Vegas. I'm telling you, that was a buffet for the ages. It was a great one. It really was.
Yeah, my favorite in Vegas, I think Mandalay Bay. I've really
They
enjoyed
have a great
that.
buffet too. I think Encore has a great buffet. The Bellagio has a great buffet. Mandalay Bay, the MGM, and the Aria I think are the 5 best buffets in town.
Hey, you know what, Zach? Next time we got to get together and have a little Food Network discussion, shall we?
Definitely.
All right. Well, Zach, hey, we'll let you run for today. It's good talking to you again. Once again, if you're not following Zach on Twitter, check him out. He's at Zak Baris. That's ZBARIS. Good to speak with you again, buddy. Let's not wait so long until next time.
Thank you for having me on.
Again.
I definitely appreciate it.
Right.
I'd love to come on again soon.
Sure thing, Zach. You have an open invite anytime, buddy. You take care. That is Zak Baris, good friend of the program, another Cleveland transplant out here in Los Angeles, California. Or Lost Angeles, as some people call it. City of Dreams, City of Angels. Or Welcome to the Jungle, says Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses. Either the case, either way, whatever the case. I like mixing metaphors, I like mixing phrases. Like activist and hacking turned into hacktivist. I love when you smash words together. But either way, it's always good talking to Zak Baris. I mean, as you heard, we talk NFL, we talk college football, we talk NBA, we talk just a little bit about being back home. But that's what we do here on the NewAmericanMedia.com's The Unhappy Hour program. It's a Cleveland-centric, Los Angeles-based sports radio show. I mean, we're Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeye fans. What do you want from me? I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend I don't have a rooting interest. I do. I really think it's about time that Cleveland gets a winner. I think LeBron stabbing us in the back really hurt. I think all the chokes from the Indians really hurt. And I'm ready to turn the page and move on. Maybe the Browns can get their act together, but they're 0-4. We'll see. But don't forget to follow us over on Twitter at American_media_. Go on Facebook.com and search The New American Media. Check out our recent interview with Governor Gary Johnson. Former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson on the Libertarian Party ticket. He's running for president. Have you heard of him? Do you know what he's about? Go check it out at thenewamericanmedia.com and subscribe to our page here on YouTube if you're listening after the fact. youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
You are listening to The New American Media.